Alrighty, welcome to the 1200 game of the Global League Review. So we have another High Funds game, another Sensei game. But this time Sensei is up against Eagle, so this should be a treat. Um, so Voice of Akasha has been thinking that maybe Eagle dominates top tier High Funds without Kanbei involved. So we'll see how that holds in the mid upper ranges. So I guess we can talk about the CO matchup for a sec. So Eagle, of course, enjoys Lightning Strike, um, and the way to get good Lightning Strikes is to kind of stall out the game, get lots of vehicles. At least, maybe you think of it as lots of vehicles compared to your opponent, um, and then you know once the fighting starts and a lot of value's been built up on the board, then after the fighting, you fight for a while, you charge Super CO power, and if you still have a lot of units left, then you can get massive lightning strikes. So at least that's kind of the way that a lot of people think about it. Maybe the idea is not to think about the first lightning strike doing a lot of damage, but if there's still lots of value on the board after the second lightning strike, or if you get the second lightning strike very quickly, then your opponent doesn't really have time to recover, and then you can win the game that way. So against Eagle, we have Sensei, and Sensei, of course, you think about infantry spam with his power, uh, the ability to do mech spam if his opponent kind of builds into a composition that mechs counter pretty hard. But also, Sensei mechs do just fine against heavy tanks in large numbers. So I guess Eagle's main struggle in this matchup that he really doesn't experience anywhere else is, the fact that he can suddenly go way down in unit count. And if he's spending the first half of his lightning strike clearing infantry, that's a lot less efficient than hitting vehicle on vehicle, or hitting around the unit triangle. So hitting tanks with B-copters, hitting B-copters with anti-air, hitting anti-air tanks. So yeah, if he's wasting a lot of moves clearing infantry, then he's not getting as much efficiency out of his Super CO power as might otherwise. So yeah, I mean, the way that I think about the matchup when I'm playing from the Eagle side is like every unit is sacred. Like I really don't want to lose, random infantry, and a good Sensei player will try to sacrifice infantry for infantry. I mean, even trading 2 infantry for 1 from the Sensei perspective could be seen as a win, because you can make a few of those, maybe like 5 of those trades, and then CO power, and then your way up. So yeah, it's an interesting matchup. I think it might be like of the top tier high funds. I suspect that Eagle has to do the most weird tactics versus Sensei compared to any of the other top tier high fund commanders, barring Kanbei, because I think Eagle versus Kanbei, I don't even know how he's supposed to. Even if he had 3 turns, I don't even know how he would beat Kanbei just because none of his units do any damage. Anyways, so our 2 players are Willon, not Willion. So Willon. So they're nearing 100 league games played. They're at 1247. And Humble God, who just passed 100 games played, nearing 130, 140 or so. They're at 1221. Alrighty, so All right, we can talk about the map for a sec. So this one's called Metamorphosis High Funds. So the first striking feature is the aircraft carrier in the corner. And it's hard to see, but the aircraft carrier is actually sitting on top of the base. So, which is which is pretty significant in this matchup, because Eagle is like really starved to make as much stuff as possible. So if I was playing Eagle in this matchup, I would really strongly consider breaking through the pipe seams, killing the carrier, and then using this back base just to spam infantry so I could keep up with Sensei. Because once you have this back base, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 bases and 2 airports versus um, Sensei. So with 4 bases and 2 airports on not a particularly large, it's like a medium large map. I think that you could keep up well enough in the unit count that the Sensei unit count fight could that you could keep up enough in unit count to do like a fair amount of damage during your lightning strikes. When I said you could just spam infantry, the other option is you could spam something like all tank artillery or something, and that way you're pumping out tons of vehicles. Like the option to do quadruple tank for the low cost of 28K. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not sure what the income is on this map, but you could imagine like quadruple tank helicopter. It's like a pretty nice build. And if it doesn't line up for whatever reason, you have so many other options. So, alrighty. So yeah, let's get into the game then. Oh, and the rest of the map, it's like surprisingly closed at some of these junctures. And the other thing is like this base up here, and then its mirror counterpart actually gets overrun fairly easily in my experience. So keep an eye on that. All right, so we have the ability to go move my move here. Nice. All right, so Humble God decides to go for this contestable city right here. This is a nice one to get early because then you can lock it with an artillery. You can put the artillery on this road tile or here. And then the artillery is being useful in other capacities while also locking down this base. So, yeah, definitely a nice thing to pick up early. Oftentimes you'll see artillery fights for that city. So we see Humble God kind of going for both corners here. He has this infantry post to capture it while also, I mean, the infantry has other options, while also threatening the interrupt on that city. So Willon decides to go capture north. Okay, answering tank with tank. All right, so double early Sensei tank. So I'm on board with that. Opening with tanks for Sensei, it makes some sense. You gotta have some sort of early unit to get a little bit of charge. And actually, so interesting. So Sensei here opts for a little bit of spice in the bottom here. So this does a couple things. One, it slows the capture in the bottom here. So this infantry was otherwise going to go for this city. And then it kind of invites Eagle to attack tank on tank. And these little exchanges like this, so money-wise, it's going to probably work out. The nice thing about these little exchanges here is Sensei really likes a few little exchanges so that he can get CO power on board early on. Whereas Eagle probably wants to avoid that so he doesn't get overrun with little infantry dudes right away. In this situation, though, I think I would attack with because you can reinforce immediately with another tank. And so then Willen gets the nice high roll on the coin flip versus tank on 0-star terrain. Okay, but actually, Eagle lives the attack there, and interestingly, Humble God doesn't go for the interrupt on this capture. I would have expected one of the tanks to go for the interrupt while the other hits, or just leave it alone. Just because, like, might as well do some economic damage instead of just doing 3 tank HP. All right, so nice blocking by Willon to keep his 1 HP tank safe. Versus Sensei, I think it is a good idea to keep your units nice and healthy. Another thing I've been thinking more about is how a 1 HP tank oftentimes gets KO'd by infantry. So it walls okay, but not the best. Whereas like a 2 or a 3 HP tank is a lot safer as a wall that kind of requires a vehicle to hit, but it doesn't require an infantry. It can't be killed by an infantry. All right, so one thing I will say though, Sensei going this hard into tanks is pretty unusual. I would have expected to have seen some artillery by now. It just adds a lot more complexity to the unit comp. Like you can deal with heavier tanks, and of course, like it meshes well with your CO power. That would be my preference over all these tanks. Like for instance, Humble God had money for an artillery right here. I think I would have preferred to see that. Because yeah, here comes the Neo tank, and now you need to respond quickly to that. Okay, so Humble God going pretty deep with these tanks. Here's the Neo tank in the bottom. Like if this had been an artillery, the previous turn it could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and really shut down this Neo from smacking this full HP tank. So yeah, both of them are really going deep with their tanks. So I would say trading so far has like favored Sensei, but now that they're getting deeper into the game and there's Neo tanks involved, Sensei I think should be a little bit more cautious about trading so freely versus Eagle. Okay, so Sensei, okay, does cop to the command at the end of his turn. That's okay, doing a good job. Yeah. Trading off these infantry is huge. Big deal. Okay, so I like the copter command. We'll have money for a second copter command. Or, sorry, not money. We'll have power for a second copter command coming up pretty soon. Eagle's getting very close to a lightning strike. And it's kind of scary to be close to a lightning strike when you're so pushed up against Eagle's base. So I think Humble God should probably, you can shore up with this capture, maybe dive on this tank, but I'd retreat with everything else. preempting the lightning strike, just because diving Neo on Neo here doesn't seem like a good idea. Also, Sensei kind of late in getting his B-copter, getting his airport going. So you would like to see, some B-copters spammed out by Sensei. Just because oh my gosh, that's a very close artillery move. If we see a lightning strike next turn, pretty bad. Okay, lightning strike time. Oh, no. Oh man. Oh man. Okay, copter command at the end of the turn again. Well, he has a lot of infantry, but again, the main problem I see is this Neo tank is just way out in the open. So there's like a lot of things that Eagle can do that Sensei is not going to like. The unit count advantage is pretty significant. Very important move here, putting the Neo tank on top of the city. That was very important. So good job by Humble God for being heads up about that. Yeah, see exactly. Like this move right here is like exactly why you don't shove up against a lightning strike near base. Okay, this Neo tank being out in the open is pretty strange. Also, Eagle is about to lose a lot of infantry. Yeah, like this infantry and this infantry and this infantry and this infantry. So good lightning strike from a vehicle perspective, but Sensei Copter Command is probably going to wipe like half of Eagle's infantry. Also, Eagle hasn't gone for this base yet, and you would have liked to have seen like an artillery back here in order to start poking away at this. Yeah, so a couple of head scratchers here. Well, there's the artillery going for the carrier. So interestingly, as Sensei, I guess the reason you do this is you just go for the carrier so that you can get double B-copter on the table. You're not super interested in that extra base because you're already going to be near unit cap anyways. Okay, all these captures here are very dangerous. Eagle now has to like go for these interrupts with his heavy vehicles because going too deep with his infantry is going to mean he's going to get infantry wiped, and then you just can't win the game when you have no infantry. Pretty much. Oh, this is so bad for Eagle. Oh no. Yeah, he see at this point, Humble God can just ignore Eagle's heavy vehicles and just like block them in with these low HP infantry, build an artillery, and then just go to town. I mean, or not. You don't even have to build the artillery. Yeah, exactly. Or just park it on the city. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, this is Sensei versus Eagle. So now, yeah, Eagle has to do like crazy work in order to clear all of these infantry, while also interrupting their captures. I think this is like super game over. Oh my gosh, this looks so game over. Yeah, losing all those Eagle infantry was kind of spelled disaster. So Eagle is already down 3 cities. Now he's down 4 cities. Oh, that was one of his own. Now he's down 5 cities. Yeah, Sensei's doing a great job here realizing that all he needs to do is clear Eagle's infantry and then just lower Eagle's unit count. So the issue that Eagle did here is he didn't stall in the way that you would want to. Like there isn't enough value on the board for like even if he had lightning strike right now, uh, it would only even the game. It wouldn't put him in a winning position. Okay, kind of a dangerous move by Sensei here, actually going for the carrier, because it's going to result in like the 3 stars. So sorry, 30K. It's 9. Yeah, it's going to be like 3.5 stars worth of charge he's about to give Eagle for free by killing this carrier. That's like extra reason you probably do not want to kill this carrier. Just think about all the lightning strike charge you're about to give him for free. Wait, what was that? How did the artillery just supplied? That was pretty funny. Yeah, so now Copter on Neo Tank. Oh, Neo Tank from the city. Oh god. Oh man. All right. So Sensei can just actually has enough value and blockers. Like look at all these blockers. It means that he can just capture this stuff and capture properties, block his important units, heal up from cities. It's looking super bad. Here comes the Copter command. He's at full unit cap. And he hasn't bought yet, so it's a little weird. But I guess he can heal. It's not a problem. Oh, he's sacking too. He's sacking into the Neo. Okay, building a mega tank. That's a nice move. He build another Neo tank too, if he so chooses. Okay, double anti-air versus the fighter. Yeah, I might go fighter versus the. Never mind. It's Eagle we're talking about. Yeah, double anti-air is the right move here because that way you don't have to deal with extra Eagle defense in the fighter-fighter matchup. And plus in the fighter-fighter matchup, Eagle just wipes the floor during Super CO power. So you have to keep your fighter extremely safe, which you probably can't. Well, you could probably do that with this many infantry, but like, yeah, double. The only reason I said double anti-air would not be my first choice is just because like it's two unit slots, so like you only have 50 units, so like you might as well make everyone count. But they're cheaper. You're up so much in unit count anyways, it probably doesn't matter. So I think the game's been over for a little while now. Yeah, I mean, Eagle's getting close to Super CO power. Oh, interesting. So Humble God actually picked up on the fact that he doesn't want to go for the carrier right away. And instead, he's actually going to wait until probably Eagle is ready to lightning strike and then get his artillery in position. So yeah, definitely some good moves by Humble God, that's for sure. All right, some more moves. Maybe lightning strike this turn? Yeah, lightning strike this turn. So we'll see if Humble God was prepared for it. Oh, the recon is nice. The recon is very nice. Yeah, Eagle recon is very great versus Sensei, now that I think about it. It like solves a lot of problems where like it's a way to clear infantry. It's cheap, you can sack it. You can sack it value-wise, you don't want to sack it unit cost-wise. The Sensei's Not doing the best on unit count, but not to worry. He'll just copter command right away. So yeah, Sensei kind of finally getting into the groove with indirects. So that's a nice sight to see. So this indirect, I believe, should probably go down here where it can shell the base. That would be my preference. Yep, and Humble God does exactly that. So I'm pretty sure it's a time for a resignation from Eagle here. Again, like very little value on the board. Yeah, and then there's the resignation. So yeah, I think that yeah, it's a very interesting game. So this is like kind of the critical point where once people have like the Sensei game plan in mind and they're skilled enough to like use his powers effectively, like Sensei rockets up in relative skill level in the skill bracket. And then it becomes pretty difficult to use funny button COs because you have to like navigate around the strengths of Sensei while just having like a pretty straightforward funny button without many other special perks. So I think the main thing that so let's try to point to something that Willian could have done to prevent this from happening. All right, so I think Willian probably. So I think this tank attack was like secretly pretty smart because it starts off like a chain of exchanges that at the beginning favors Sensei. So Sensei likes this. So Eagle kind of the clapback here makes sense. Okay, there we go. And now at this point, so now Eagle has won the mini exchange, and he needs to like. I think that Eagle needs to calm the game. Now that Sensei is like mirroring CO power, he's like half a star away from CO power. I think Eagle needs to do everything he can do to keep Super C to keep Copter Command from coming out. So this right here is good. All right, diving with the tank. Honestly, a little bit suspicious. As we see what happens, it turns out that this tank hits here, the 5 HP tank hits above, and then the tank hits the artillery. So that was like a busted wall that turned out to be a big deal because now Sensei is sitting on Copter Command. I think if Eagle just sets up differently, like say puts the artillery on this square and then like blocks with, interrupts with a 3 HP tank. Yeah, interrupts with a 3 HP tank. Then we don't see that exchange. You just like shut down the idea of Copter Command right away, and things go well. I would say build order wise, like Sensei going for all these tanks. It's an interesting idea. Just because it's a weird one because Sensei tanks are not very good, but at the same time it like gets him to CO power pretty quickly. So it's like a weird like catch-22 that ends up working in Sensei's favor. So anyways, this kind of wall break here happens to everybody. Kind of a bummer. But now Willian has to deal with all these infantry that are about to spawn out. So he kind of has to make all of his units count. So again, like having tanks dive on your artillery really hurts. Mech build, not a great choice as Eagle, just because Super CO power doesn't do very much. At this point, I think that it is a good idea to like dive with to like push forward with the Neos. And then like this lightning strike is a pretty good one. So like look at the end, he's up a he's up a bit of army value. Sensei Copter commands. But I think that like the issue is like all these infantry here are pushed too far forward and many of them die. So now his unit count is starting to plummet. And then in the center bottom here is kind of a disaster. So he like really needs to clear a lot of infantry quickly. Um, so maybe going more into recons, maybe going more into tanks, just something to like safely and methodically clear out infantry. But really, like losing infantry is kind of the main like resource that's hurting them because they're hard to replace. So yeah, and then you could actually maybe even bring it back to like an earlier build, like responding to this is like a very early tank, honestly. Like there's so many more cities to capture and does very early tank and into another tank too. Um, Maybe you could imagine like skip the tank response and then go into medium tank. Yeah, he's actually 1K short of being able to build a medium tank. Or even he could have done a rocket. That's kind of crazy instead of the tank. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I think that I would say it's less that Willon like badly misplayed, and more that Humble God just had a really great strategy that Willon couldn't find a good response for. So, yeah, I would. It's not that Willon like made some basic error. It's just that Humble God had like a very good opening idea, and that it was hard to find the point at which Eagle needed to depart. I think the turning point was kind of here with this artillery thing because if the if this wall doesn't get broken, um, there's a lot of potential um, for like Eagle to start walling up, and then like sort of slow pushing into the center, taking some properties, and slowing the game down. And then at that point, once you wall up big time, then Sensei can't really do these little dink and dunk attacks without exposing a lot of his army at once. And then every turn that you stall, it's just that much more value on the board for your lightning strike to do. So yeah, I would say definitely very well played Humble God. And then Willon, yeah, I wonder how often he's seen this matchup because it's a hard one. It's not something that it's easy to underestimate how much that infantry spam. Yeah, GG's to both. So that was the 1200 match. Tune in next time for the 1300 match.